Okay, now we are in the next session of this electrostatics. This video is the 15th video, and the session is the last session, and it is an important in electrostatics. And here, before going into the topic, let us understand something about the events that took place in the development of certain devices. Let's look into the history. So here initially, when physicists or the scientists were working to develop the charges on the bodies, just they were doing the works, working with the conductors, charging them, and finding how much amount of charge is stored on a conductor. So in this process, they used different devices, different materials. Some used the conducting spheres, some used the insulating conducting spheres or insulating glass spheres, and some used the insulating bars, and some used the sulfur bar. So like this, they were able to charge the bodies, but they were not able to store these charges. They were not able to store these charges. So different attempts were made for finding something which is able to store the charges that were developed. So in that very process, in 1745, it is 1745, not 1945. In 1745, the first device was developed to store charges. The simple devices what they developed is they used a glass sphere. They used a glass sphere, and on this rotating glass sphere, and it is rubbed with a woolen cloth so that the charge will be developed on the glass sphere. And near it, they used a metal bar, suspended by means of a silk thread. So here the charge developed was just transferred to this metal bar, and on the metal bar the charges were stored. And not only this, they used water bottles, glass water bottle, and to this a cork was fitted, and the water is taken into this, and with the help of an iron nail, the charge is transferred to the water. And the charge is stored in the water. And later, for further improvement, what they used is they have coated a metal foil inside the inner side, the metal foil inner side, and a metal foil outer side of this for this bottle. Metal foil, and they observed that the charges they were able to store the charges like that. Initially, like this, they have just developed a small instruments like this, and actually they did not consider this as a scientific discovery. They thought that it is something like a gimmick or a magic trick like that. What they used to do is they used to take this near the the monks who were standing in a line touching each other, and they used to ask a monk to touch this metal foil, and the line, the people who were standing in the line used to feel that shock. So like that they were using this, and later they understood that they can they just recognized this as a scientific discovery, and then and not only that, they also understood that instead of using a glass, just by simply using a metal foil, two metal foils separated by some distance, the charges can be stored. And so, and then this led to a discovery that the two metal plates separated by some distance, they were able to store the charges, and we call this as a capacitor. Now we are calling this as a capacitor. So like this, the capacitors were devised for fulfilling our need here, that is to store the charges. So that is the history, how this is the history of the capacitor. So now we understood that the two metal plates separated by some distance, we can store the charges, and we call this now as the capacitor. And not only this, in this form, in different forms we are going to see how the charges can be stored in the different shapes, and we will understand what is the principle of the capacitor and what is the capacity of the capacitor, and so on. First, let us talk about the capacitor capacitance. First, let us define this capacitor. What is a capacitor? It's a device. It's a device used to store the charges. It's a device used to store the charges. That means that it possesses some electric energy. So it possesses some electric energy. So capacitor is a device used to store the charges, and it will be possessing some electrical energy. Okay, so that is the definition of the capacitor. Okay, now we understood the definition of the capacitor. So it's a device used to store electric charges, which means that it is possessing some electrical energy. And where do we use these capacitors? So the capacitors are used in some electric circuits, in some electronic devices, while in the radio frequency tuners, and the electric circuits in electric motors, and in the ignition circuit in these automobiles. So there we use these capacitors. Now let us talk what is the capacitance of a capacitor. Capacitance of a capacitor. So now here, suppose if you consider let us talk about the conductor initially. Let us take a metal plate A. Now, if you give some positive charge to it, so it holds the charge. It holds the charge. So from here, we understood that the potential given to this conductor depends upon the charge whatever you are giving. That means this potential Q or V is directly proportional to V. So whatever the potential you are giving, it depends upon the charge. The potential it is gaining depends upon the charge whatever you are giving. That is, Q is proportional to V. So if you raise this potential, if you want to raise this potential, you have to increase the charge. Okay. So from this we got this relation, Q is proportional to V. So now you can just equate this with a constant, and the constant what we are going to use here is C. Q is equal to CV. So here C is the constant of proportionality, and here we call it as capacitance of a conductor. Capacitance of a conductor. So here from this Q is equal to C, we understood what is C, and this expression we can write like this here: C is equal to Q by V, and you know that Q will be the charge, and this is the potential, what we are applying to this conductor. So what is the capacitance? What is C, or what is the capacitance of a conductor? The capacitance of conductor is the constant of proportionality. It is the constant of proportionality, and it is the ratio of charge given to the conductor to raise its potential. Okay, so just by using this expression we can define this. What is C? How to define C, or the capacitance of a conductor is, it is the constant of proportionality and it is the ratio of charge given to the conductor to raise its potential to some extent, to raise its potential. So here C is equal to Q by V, and here the SI unit of C, or the capacitance, is given by Farad on the honor of a scientist, Michael Faraday. So here, so that's why, because it is on the name of a scientist, it is starting with the small letter f, and its symbol will be capital F. Symbol is capital F. So now, from this expression C is equal to Q by V, C is the Farad and Q is the Coulomb and V is the volt. Now we can define what is a Farad. How to define a Farad? So you cannot directly go defining a Farad. Just we can define it by using the term capacitance. The capacitance of a capacitor or the conductor is said to be 1 Farad. So C is equal to, from this, let's go with this expression here, C is equal to Q by V. When this C will be equal to Q, or if you want to define it as, if it is to be 1 Farad, this is to be 1 Coulomb, and this is to be 1 volt. So basing on this, we can define a Farad. So when the capacitance of a conductor will be 1 Farad, if the charge given to this conductor is 1 Coulomb, to raising its potential for 1 volt, for raising its potential to 1 volt. So how to define a Farad here? The capacitance is said to be, the capacitance of a conductor is said to be 1 Farad if the potential is raised to be 1 volt by giving a charge of 1 Coulomb, by giving a charge of 1 Coulomb. So like that we can define a Farad. So of a conductor is said to be 1 Farad. When it can 1 Farad if the potential of the is raised to 1 volt by charging it for 1 Coulomb. So like this we can define the capacitance, or we can define a Farad. So we talked about the SI unit, and what about this CGS unit? The CGS unit of capacitance is stat Farad. The CGS unit is stat Farad. And what is the conversion for the Farad and stat Farad here? So 1 Farad is 1 Coulomb by 1 volt. And we know the CGS unit of the charge. What is the CGS unit of the charge? It is stat Coulomb. So 1 Coulomb is 3 into 10 to the power of 9 stat Coulomb, and 1 volt is 1 by 300 of stat volt. So this becomes 9 into 10 to the power of 11 stat Coulomb by stat volt will give you stat Farad. So the conversion is 1 Farad is equal to 9 into 10 to the power of 11 stat Farad. Okay, so this is the conversion here. So now here we have discussed about the capacitance of a conductor. The capacitance of a conductor here, for giving an expression here, we have to talk about the charge given to the conductor and the potential raised. the potential raised is directly proportional to the charge given to the conductor. So Q is proportional to V. So from this expression, Q is equal to CV. Here C is the constant of proportionality, nothing but the capacitance of a conductor. So from this expression, we got C is equal to Q by V, and you know that Q is in charge and V is in potential. V is the potential raised, and SI unit of capacitor is the farad, and we define the farad. Capacitance of conductor is set to 1 farad. If the potential of the conductor is raised to 1 volt by charging it to 1 coulomb, and then we give the CGS unit of the capacitor, that is stat farad, and just to derive what is the conversion from farad, conversion of farad and stat farad. 1 farad is 9 into 10 to the power of 11 stat farad. Now pause the video and take the screenshot. Okay, now we understood what is the capacitance of a conductor. So capacitance of a conductor is given by C is equal to Q by V, and the unit of capacitance is farad. And earlier when we were talking about when they were developing the devices to store the charges, then I told you they used glass water bottles filled with water, fitted with a cork, and having a nail in the cork, inserted into the cork. With the help of the cork, with the help of the nail, the charges were transferred into the water. And later, for storing more charges, what they used is they have just coated a metal foil outside and inside the walls of the container, and those jars are called as Leyden jars. Leyden jars, and also called as Leyden jar capacitors. About this Leyden jar capacitors, you might have learned in your earlier classes, and you can see the picture here also. And now, talking about, after understanding the charge capacitance of a conductor, now let us see the capacitance of one more example here. Capacitance of a spherical conductor. Capacitance of a spherical conductor here. Now, what will be the capacitance of a spherical conductor? Easily you can understand, because already you understood about the potential and the potential energy and electric intensity. So you can easily understand it here. So here it is a spherical conductor is taken, which is isolated from the surroundings. This isolated from surroundings means it is taken in surrounded with a vacuum. That means isolated, separated from the surroundings, so that the charges will not be leaked to the surroundings. So now if this is given some charge Q, plus Q charge is given, and the charge resides on the surface. So now if you just see here how this electric field will be, it will be radially in this direction. Radially in this direction. And if you just see this, earlier we have learned that this is similar, that if the same charge is kept at the center of this sphere, that means whatever the charge is given, it is on the surface, and the same thing will be, we can assume such that, same thing can be understood such that if you keep the charge Q at the center of the sphere, the same charge will be residing on the surface. So now, by this assumption, we can find out the capacitance of a spherical conductor. How to find means here, already you know what is the potential at each and every point on the surface of the conductor, spherical conductor. What is the potential at the surface of the spherical conductor? So already you know it is, if the radius of the sphere is R, the potential V at each and every point on the surface of this spherical conductor is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. What is the charge given? Q. And what is the radius? R. What is the distance? That is R. So the potential at each and every point on the surface of the spherical conductor is this much. And already we know the capacitance of any conductor, C is equal to Q by V. So now Q, that is the what is the charge given there, and V, what we have got it here, it is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R. So now it becomes 4 pi epsilon naught R C. So the capacitance of a spherical conductor we can find like this. So already you know what is the potential from our earlier sessions. You understood what is the potential at a point from a linear conductor, from a spherical conductor. So you can apply all these things here by just using the same type of whatever we did here. So in this spherical conductor, we understood that at each and every point, because they are at the same distance, so we can use this formula V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R, and already we know the formula for the capacitance of a conductor, C is equal to Q by V, and we have substituted these values and we got the capacitance of the sphere as C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught R. Okay, now just take a screenshot of this and go. Now, after understanding the capacitance of a conductor, now we will talk about the principle of a capacitor. Principle of a capacitor. Principle. So here we know that for a conductor, if you give a charge, the charge remains on this conductor, and there will be a limit for that. There will be a limit for that. Now, what is our intention? Our intention is to increase the potential and store in that. So now, to increase the potential of this, so what we are going to do is we are going to bring another conductor near to it, parallel to it. So thereby the potential of this conductor raises. So that is the principle what we are going to use for this, what you call it as, for this capacitors. So now let us see the explanation for that. So now I am going to take a conductor A, and I am going to give some positive charge Q to it. So now the charge will be, can be shown like this. Already told you there will be a limit for every conductor here, and if you go further charging, it cannot accumulate the charge because the charge will be lost to the surroundings. Charge will be lost to the surroundings. Now, how to increase the potential of this conductor? Already the introduction I just told you, by bringing a conductor near to it or parallel to it. So suppose if I bring another conductor near to it, let this be B, and it is not charged initially, near to it. Okay, so now by means of electrostatic induction, already you know the concept of electrostatic induction, the charges will be developed on this body, on this conductor here. So on the inner side, the negative charge is developed. On the farther side, the positive charge is developed. And from this you can understand that due to this negative charge, the potential of this conductor raises, because it can neutralize the charges, and so thereby we can make this conductor to accumulate some more amount of charge. So because of this negative charge, the potential of this conductor A can be raised. And what about this positive charge? Because of this charge, positive charge, the potential of this A will be decreased. So now, if you remove this positive charge, because of this negative charge, the potential of this conductor can be raised. So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to act this conductor, acting a conductor. Already we talked about this concept, acting a conductor. Earth is a huge neutral body. It can give how many negative charges required, or it can take as many negative charges given to it. So now here, because these negative charges are already in attraction with these positive charges, they cannot be moved, and the only what do you call it as, these positive charges, they are free charges. This we can call them as the bonded charges and we can call them as the free charges. Now the earth provides the sufficient electrons so that these positive charges gets neutralized. So thereby this positive charge is removed. So only the charge remaining is the negative charge on the inner side. So already from this you can easily understand that because of the negative charge present in the inner side, the potential of this A is increased. So now we understood this concept or the principle. So by bringing a charged conductor near to this conductor, we have now developed or improved the potential of this conductor. Okay. So now, so that is regarding the principle of the conductor. Now just pause the video. Okay, now after understanding the principle, now you can say what is a parallel plate capacitor. What is a parallel plate capacitor? Two plates which are kept at some distance, at some separated by a distance. We will be calling this as a small distance. When we will be calling this as the small distance means this distance is small compared to this size of the plates. So separated by small distance, and in between these two plates it is filled with a vacuum or any insulator, or we will be calling it as the dielectric. Then we will be calling this arrangement as the parallel plate capacitor because it is now having the ability to store the charges. So now if you just see this parallel plate capacitor here, and if it is given charge Q to this plate A, and on plate B, after earthing we observe minus Q charge remains on this surface. And one more thing here, if you just see the electric field, how the electric field will be there in between these two parallel plates. The electric, if you see the lines of force, they will be parallel and even. So because they are parallel and even, the field is uniform. So we can talk about the surface charge density sigma on the plates is Q by A. Surface charge density on the plates is given by sigma is equal to Q by A. Already you understood what is Gauss theorem, and from this Gauss theorem you can see here it is E is equal to, already we understood this sigma by epsilon naught. Sigma by epsilon naught, and from this E is equal to sigma epsilon naught, and it is the sigma is given by Q by A and epsilon naught. So we can write this as Q epsilon naught A. Q epsilon naught A. And already from when we are talking about the potential and electric field, there we know that V is equal to E into D. So from this E is equal to V by D, we got this. So V is equal to E into D. What is E here? We got it as Q epsilon naught A into T. So this is V is equal to Q epsilon naught A into D. And now we want to find the capacitance of the parallel plate capacitor. C is equal to Q by V, and this is Q, that is charge given to this. And what is V? It is Q by epsilon. So from this V is equal to E into D. So here we got it as V is equal to, instead of E, it is rho by epsilon naught D, and this sigma, this sigma by epsilon naught into D. What is sigma here? Q by A. it is Q by A epsilon naught D. So we can write this as Q D by A epsilon naught A. So this is V, we got it here. And we know the formula for finding the capacitance. C is equal to Q by V, and Q is as Q itself, and V is QD by epsilon naught A. So this and gets cancelled. This goes to the numerator, epsilon naught A by D. So the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor is given by epsilon naught A by D. So here, why we are using epsilon naught here? This is permittivity of the free space. Suppose if any dielectric is introduced in between the plates, dielectric means insulator. If its dielectric constant having dielectric constant epsilon r, if any dielectric is introduced with the dielectric constant epsilon r, then your C will become epsilon naught epsilon r A by D. So this is one more situation here, and there is one more thing which can take place here. Suppose if you are using, instead of using 2 plates, if you go with more number of plates, then if you just see here, this forms one capacitor, this forms one capacitor, and this forms one capacitor, and this forms one capacitor. So how many plates are there here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 plates are there forming 4 capacitors. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means if you are using n plates, you are going to get n minus 1 capacitors. So for this type of system, what will be the capacitance of the system? Capacitance of the system is given by C is equal to how many capacitors are there? N minus 1 capacitors will be there, and n minus 1. And what is the medium in between the plates? That is epsilon naught, or you can go with epsilon naught epsilon r, and A by D. So C is equal to n by, this is capacitance of a system. C is equal to n minus 1 epsilon naught A by D. So from this you can understand one thing. On what factors does this capacitance of a capacitor depend? The capacitance of a capacitor depends upon the size of the plates, the distance between the plates, and the medium in between the plates, the dielectric between the plates. So the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor depends upon the area of the plates, and the distance between the plates, and the dielectric in between the plates. Okay. So now pause the video, take the screenshot, and next we'll go with the further.